In every age, every generation, and every human heart, there comes a moment when life feels like a battlefield. A moment when confusion blinds clarity, fear kills courage, and responsibility becomes heavier than mountains. A moment when hope fades, when tears replace strength, when the mind breaks under pressure, and the heart screams silently for help. In those moments, we search for answers. Why is life so difficult? Why do good people suffer? What is the purpose of my existence? Why are we born? Why must we struggle? Why must we lose the ones we love? Who am I really? What is destiny? What is God? The world is full of noise, chaos, competition, pressure, deadlines, expectations, and endless chasing. And yet, deep inside, there is an emptiness that nothing seems to fill. But more than 5,000 years ago, on the sacred land of Kurukshetra, during the greatest war the world had ever seen, those exact questions were asked by a broken warrior who stood trembling in the center of a battlefield, surrounded by fear, confusion, and despair. And the answers came from one voice, steady, calm, fearless, divine. That conversation is called the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest guide to life ever spoken. It is not a religious scripture. It is a science of the mind, a manual for the soul, and a blueprint for victory in life. Welcome to Divine Gita Secrets, the channel where ancient wisdom becomes modern power, where timeless truth meets real life, where words become transformation. This is not just a lesson, it is a journey from fear to strength, from confusion to clarity, from darkness to light, a journey that will awaken the warrior inside you. Because the Gita was not spoken for saints or monks living in caves. It was spoken for people like us, who fight real battles every single day. Battles of heartbreak, family pressure, financial struggle, loneliness, self-doubt, anxiety, expectations, and responsibilities. The Gita teaches us how to remain unshaken when life storms against us, how to stay calm when everything around us collapses, how to act without fear and live without regret. Today, we will explore the entire Bhagavad Gita, all 18 chapters, in the simplest and most powerful way possible. No complicated philosophy, no difficult language, just pure truth that you can apply right now. Are you ready to transform your life? Then breathe deep, open your heart, and let the journey begin.
The Bhagavad Gita begins not with meditation or peace, but with tension, conflict, and emotional breakdown. The battlefield of Kurukshetra is prepared. Two mighty armies, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, stand face to face. The sky trembles with war drums, conch shells echo across the horizon, and the air is charged with destiny. In the middle of this stands Arjuna, the greatest warrior of his time, unbeatable, undefeated, fearless. But when he sees his own teachers, relatives, mentors, and beloved friends standing against him, his strength melts. His bow slips from his hands, his knees tremble, his heart collapses, and his voice shakes as he says, "Krishna, I cannot fight. My mind is confused. My heart is broken. I see no purpose in this battle." Tears replace courage, fear replaces discipline, and confusion replaces clarity. Arjuna, the invincible warrior, falls to the ground, broken. This is the moment that defines the Gita, because Arjuna represents every human being. We have all experienced moments where we break down, where life becomes too heavy to carry, where decisions become impossible, where pain becomes unbearable. The first lesson of the Gita is powerful. Transformation begins the moment you stop pretending to be strong and start seeking guidance. Arjuna was not weak, he was human. The real crisis was not the war outside, it was the war inside his mind. The Gita teaches that the biggest battles are not fought with weapons, they are fought inside the heart. When the mind collapses, life collapses. When the mind becomes steady, life becomes powerful. Arjuna says, "Krishna, guide me. I surrender. I do not know what is right." And at that moment, Krishna steps forward, not as a charioteer, but as the voice of truth. The lesson is clear. Life changes the day we stop fighting alone. Asking for guidance is not weakness, it is wisdom. The Gita begins with breakdown so that it can end with breakthrough, because sometimes you must fall to rise stronger than ever.
Krishna begins his teaching with a truth that shakes Arjuna's soul. The wise do not grieve for the living or the dead. He reveals the most powerful knowledge ever spoken. The soul is eternal. Bodies are born, change, age, and die, but the soul remains unchanged forever. Bodies are like clothes. We wear them for a while and then replace them, but the soul travels on, immortal and pure. When death loses meaning, fear disappears. When we understand that identity is not body, status, success, appearance, or possession, but eternal consciousness, life transforms. Krishna says, "You are grieving for something that cannot be lost." He teaches that our duty is action, not results. We control only effort, never outcome. Results belong to destiny, time, and God. So he introduces the foundation of karma yoga. Do your duty without attachment to results. When effort is pure, results cannot disturb peace. Success and failure become equal. Praise and criticism lose power, and the mind becomes unshakable. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Krishna calls Arjuna to rise from weakness to warriorhood. He says, "Fight the battle life has placed before you, not because you desire victory, but because it is your responsibility." The world respects action, not excuses. The second chapter teaches that true strength begins when the mind becomes steady, focused, fearless, and free from expectation. When work becomes worship and purpose becomes devotion, failure cannot break you, and success cannot blind you. A steady mind is the foundation of an extraordinary life. Krishna now explains that action is essential to life. Nobody can remain without acting, not even for a second. Even choosing not to act is an action. Running away from responsibility does not create peace, it creates weakness. The greatest path is not escape, but selfless action. Krishna says, work must be done as a duty, not as a transaction of reward. When we act only for personal benefit, life becomes full of stress, pressure, jealousy, and anxiety. But when we act for contribution, purpose, service, and growth, the heart becomes free. A person who works without ego becomes unstoppable, but a person who works only for result becomes a prisoner of expectations. Krishna teaches that nature itself is selfless. The sun gives light without asking for praise. The rivers flow without asking for reward. Trees give fruit without demand. Humans must learn the same spirit. Work is sacred when it is done for the welfare of the world. A selfless person becomes a channel of divine power. The world may not always reward them instantly, but the universe supports them eventually. Service purifies the heart. Contribution builds character. Action becomes worship when desire dissolves. The message is clear. Do what is right, not what is easy. Give more than you take. Act with purity, without fear, without doubt. Those who live for themselves die small.
but those who live for others become legends. The true warrior is not one who fights with weapons, but one who fights for purpose and humanity. The world belongs to the selfless. Krishna now reveals the timeless origin of this knowledge. He tells Arjuna that the wisdom he is hearing is not new. It is eternal, older than kings, sages, and civilizations. Krishna explains, I taught this science of life to the sun god, who taught it to great rulers and enlightened souls across ages. But over time, the purity of truth faded, corrupted by ego and ignorance, and humanity lost the light. So Krishna returned out of compassion to restore wisdom. Arjuna is shocked and confused. He asks, how can you say this? You were born recently, and the sun god existed long before. Krishna smiles and reveals the most astonishing truth. Many births have passed for you and for me. You have forgotten them, Arjuna, but I remember them all. He declares that although he appears in human form, he is eternal and beyond birth and death. Whenever darkness rises and righteousness falls, God manifests to protect the good, destroy evil, and restore balance. This is the divine promise. Whenever the world is in trouble, I descend. The chapter teaches that God is not distant. He walks with humanity in every age. Krishna now speaks about the purity of intention. A person becomes wise not by rituals, but by understanding truth and applying it. Knowledge burns ignorance the way fire burns wood. Krishna teaches that people act according to their beliefs, and beliefs shape destiny. True knowledge dissolves ego, strengthens clarity, and opens the path to liberation. But knowledge must become action. Wisdom without practice is wasted light. Krishna asks Arjuna to cut the knots of doubt with the sword of understanding, to rise beyond confusion and step into purpose. The message is strong and transformative. Ignorance enslaves, knowledge liberates, doubt destroys, clarity empowers. The greatest weapon is wisdom. When the mind is enlightened, fear loses power, and destiny becomes unstoppable.
Arjuna now asks an important question. Which path is better, renouncing the world or acting in the world? Krishna answers with precision. Both paths lead to the same destination, but action with awareness is greater than empty renunciation. True renunciation is not running away from responsibility or escaping society to hide in the mountains. Anyone can run, only the brave stay and fight. A person may live in a forest and still be full of anger, ego, jealousy, and desire. And another may live in a family, face challenges daily, and yet remain peaceful, pure, and free. Renunciation is not the location of the body, it is the condition of the mind. Krishna teaches that the real bondage is not outside, but inside. It is desire, expectation, and ego that chain the soul, not work or relationships. When we act without selfish attachment, karma does not bind us. Just like a lotus leaf remains untouched by the water it floats on, a wise person remains untouched by the consequences of action. The secret is to work without claiming ownership, without demanding results, without ego. A person who serves the world without self-importance becomes free. He neither celebrates success excessively nor collapses in failure. He remains balanced in joy and sorrow, gain and loss, praise and criticism. This inner freedom is true peace. Krishna teaches that peace does not come from running away, it comes from letting go. When the mind is freed from greed, comparison, and worry, the heart becomes light, life becomes worship, every breath becomes prayer. This chapter gives a powerful message. Real victory is not winning battles outside, it is conquering attachment inside. The strongest person is not one who controls the world, but one who controls the self. Krishna now unveils the science of controlling the mind, the most difficult yet most powerful path. He says that a person must train the mind the way an athlete trains the body, and a warrior sharpens his weapons. The uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy, and the controlled mind is the greatest friend. The mind constantly pulls us between past regrets and future fears, rarely allowing us to live in the present. It jumps like a monkey from thought to thought, never resting, never satisfied. Krishna says that true power begins when a person learns to sit with themselves in silence. Meditation is not escaping reality, it is mastering reality. It is not running away from life, it is returning to the center of strength. Krishna explains how to meditate. Sit in a clean, quiet place, with spine straight, breath steady, eyes calm, thoughts allowed to dissolve gently. Focus inward and observe the mind without judgment. Practice every day. Progress is slow, but transformation is certain. Arjuna confesses honestly, "My mind is restless like a storm. It feels impossible to control." Krishna agrees, the mind is restless and difficult to master. But he adds, through practice and detachment, the mind can be controlled, not by force, but by discipline. A person who practices meditation becomes fearless, peaceful, patient, and powerful. He sees joy and suffering with balance, sees all beings with compassion, and feels connected to the divine presence within. Even if a person falls many times, nothing is lost. The journey continues. Every attempt builds strength. Meditation burns inner darkness, dissolves fear, heals pain, awakens purpose, and reveals the soul. Master the mind and life bows before you. This chapter teaches that the real battle is not outside, it is within. Conquer the mind, and you conquer destiny.
After teaching the discipline of action and meditation, Krishna now opens the door to the highest truth, the science of God and the structure of existence. He says to Arjuna, "Listen carefully. With your mind fixed on me and your heart devoted to me, you will understand me completely and without doubt." Krishna explains that everything in the universe, every element, every emotion, every force is sustained by his divine energy. Earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are his lower material energies, but beyond them is his higher spiritual energy, the soul, which gives life and consciousness. Without that presence, the body is nothing more than clay waiting to dissolve into dust. Krishna reveals that he is the source of all existence. Everything arises from him, exists through him, and dissolves back into him. Like pearls threaded on a string, all beings are connected through his presence. The ignorant, dominated by desire and ego, fail to recognize him, but the wise bow in reverence, seeing his presence everywhere. He explains that 4 kinds of people come to God: the distressed, seeking relief; the curious, seekers of knowledge; the ambitious, seeking success; and the wise who love God simply for love. Among them, the wise are closest, because their devotion is pure and unconditional. The world is covered by Maya, illusion, which hides truth and traps people in greed, attachment, and confusion. Maya blinds the heart and prevents the soul from recognizing divinity. But for those who surrender with faith, Krishna destroys darkness and reveals truth. He says, "I am the taste in water, the light in the sun and moon, the fragrance in the earth, the sound in the air, the intelligence of the intelligent, the strength of the strong." When we start recognizing God in every moment, every breath, every miracle of life, fear dissolves and gratitude awakens. This chapter teaches God is not far away. He is the heartbeat within us. When devotion awakens, life becomes a journey of light.
Arjuna now asks the deepest questions.
What happens after death? What is the eternal truth beyond the body? How can a soul reach God at the final moment? Krishna reveals a profound spiritual law. Whatever you remember at the time of death, that you become in the next life. The mind's final thought becomes destiny. Therefore, the purpose of life is to prepare the mind for the last breath by living with focus, purity, devotion, and awareness. Krishna teaches that the material world constantly changes. Birth and death are cycles repeated endlessly. Even the highest pleasures of heaven are temporary. But beyond these cycles lies the eternal spiritual realm, a place where there is no death, no suffering, no fear, no night, and no ending. Those who remember God with unwavering devotion reach that state and never return to the suffering of the material world. Krishna explains that the soul leaves the body like a traveler changing clothes, carrying impressions of thoughts, desires, and actions. Therefore, every moment counts. Whoever dies in anger is born into anger. Whoever dies in desire is born into desire. Whoever dies remembering God reaches liberation. Krishna says, "Fix your mind on me, surrender your heart to me, trust me completely, and you will reach me without fail." He describes the sacred paths of light and darkness. One leads to liberation, one to rebirth. He teaches that meditation, devotion, discipline, mantra, and selfless action purify the mind so deeply that at the final moment, the soul flies toward God like a flame rising upward. The powerful message of Chapter 8: live every day as preparation for the final moment. Live in such a way that when death comes, you smile, not fear. When devotion rises above fear, the soul becomes eternal.
Krishna now reveals what he calls the most sacred, pure, and powerful knowledge, the royal secret. He says, "This wisdom is the king of education. It is eternal, joyful, easy to practice, and leads directly to realization." Krishna shares the most beautiful declaration of divine love. "I am the Father of the world, the Mother, the Protector, the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation." He explains that God never abandons anyone, not even the greatest sinner. One moment of pure devotion can change destiny. Anyone, regardless of background, wealth, status, mistakes, or failure, can reach God by surrendering with love. The doors of grace are open to all. God does not demand perfection. He asks only for sincerity. Krishna says, "Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give, do it as an offering to me." It is not the object God values, but the heart behind it. Even offering a small leaf, flower, fruit, or water with love becomes sacred. Devotion transforms ordinary life into worship. Krishna teaches that people who love God with pure hearts are never lost. Even if they fall, they rise stronger. Even if they fail, they are guided. Even if the world rejects them, God embraces them. The universe itself supports those who walk the path of truth. This chapter reveals the highest truth. God is unconditional love. He does not live in ritual or fear. He lives in hearts full of devotion. When we surrender ego, miracles unfold. The royal secret is powerful. God belongs to those who belong to Him. Love is the bridge. Faith is the path. Surrender is liberation.
After explaining the science of devotion, Krishna now lifts the veil from the extraordinary truth of his divine nature. He tells Arjuna, listen once more to my supreme wisdom. I speak for your benefit, because you are dear to me. Krishna reveals that he is the infinite source behind every movement of the universe. All creation begins from him. All power flows through him. All beauty shines because of him. He says, I am the origin of all. Everything exists by my will. Those who understand this worship him with unbreakable devotion. Krishna explains that whenever we witness greatness in the world, brilliance, strength, intelligence, courage, compassion, creativity, nobility, or extraordinary achievement, we are witnessing a spark of his infinite power. He declares, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and moon. I am the sound in space and the intelligence of the intelligent. I am the strength free from desire and anger. When we see a majestic mountain, a vast ocean, a brilliant scientist, a fearless warrior, a compassionate healer, a wise teacher, or a miracle of nature, we are seeing reflections of the divine presence. Suddenly, God stops feeling distant and becomes personal, present in every heartbeat, every sunrise, every breath, every miracle of life. Krishna says, of lights, I am the sun. Of rivers, I am the Ganga. Of warriors, I am Rama. Of sages, I am Vyasa. Of speech, I am truth. Of secrets, I am silence. He reveals that the universe is held together by only a fraction of his power, yet that fraction is enough to sustain galaxies and eternity. Krishna explains that true wisdom is recognizing the divine presence everywhere, not only in temples, scriptures, or rituals, but in every moment of existence. When we realize that God is in everything and everything is God, fear ends and life becomes sacred. Arjuna, overwhelmed by the magnitude of these revelations, begins to feel the depth of Krishna's divine identity and prepares for the greatest vision the world has ever witnessed.
Cinematic awe and shock. Arjuna, filled with devotion, asks Krishna with trembling humility, if you believe I am worthy, please show me your true cosmic form. Krishna grants divine sight because the human eye cannot bear such glory. And in an instant, the universe transforms. Arjuna sees a vision beyond imagination. Within Krishna's body, he sees countless faces, countless arms, countless forms, blazing like thousands of suns rising together. The entire cosmos appears inside him. Planets, stars, galaxies, dimensions, time, gods, sages, all creation and destruction happening simultaneously. Arjuna sees rivers of warriors flowing into Krishna's fiery mouths, being swallowed by time. He sees the unstoppable power of destiny moving through everything. He sees birth and death, creation and annihilation, order and chaos, beauty and terror, all at once. He sees time devouring all time. Arjuna trembles in fear and awe, unable to comprehend the vastness. He collapses, crying with humility, Lord, I see no beginning or end. You are everything, the protector, the destroyer, the infinite and eternal. The universe is contained within you. Forgive me for ever thinking of you as a friend. Krishna shows that no one has power except through him. Every victory and every defeat is part of his divine plan. The message is overwhelming. We control nothing. God controls everything. Ego is an illusion. Arjuna realizes that surrender is not weakness, it is awakening. When the universal form disappears and Krishna returns to his gentle human form, Arjuna understands his true duty. He rises reborn, not as a frightened warrior, but as a fearless instrument of divine purpose. This chapter teaches that the divine is far greater than imagination. Surrender frees the soul from fear. Destiny is not chaos, it is divine orchestration.
After witnessing the universal form, Arjuna asks, "Who is closest to you? The one who worships your infinite cosmic form, or the one who loves you personally?" Krishna answers with a voice filled with compassion. The greatest path is devotion, pure love from the heart. Bhakti is not ritual, religion, or theory. It is surrender of ego, offering of love, and intimacy of the soul with God. Krishna describes the qualities of a true devotee, one who is free from hatred, free from pride, free from greed, free from anger, free from anxiety, one who is gentle, compassionate, forgiving, patient, and humble, one who sees every being with equal vision and remains steady in happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, success and failure. A true devotee expects nothing, demands nothing, blames no one, and never loses hope. He walks with faith, speaks with kindness, and loves without conditions. Such a person becomes unbreakable because divine love becomes their shield. Krishna declares, "Whoever loves me with all their heart is dear to me beyond measure." Devotion turns pain into strength, loss into wisdom, struggle into growth, and life into blessing. Bhakti is not escape, it is empowerment. It is the most accessible path because everyone can love. A sage may not be born from every mind, a warrior may not be born from every body, but a lover can be born from every heart. God does not measure achievements, He measures sincerity. When the heart bows, the universe rises to support it. Krishna promises, "I personally carry the burden of those who love me and protect what they have." The path of devotion transforms ordinary people into extraordinary souls. This chapter teaches, love is the highest power. Faith is the highest wisdom. Devotion is the highest path. When love becomes unconditional, God becomes unavoidable.
Krishna now reveals the foundation of all spiritual wisdom, the difference between the body and the soul. He tells Arjuna, this body is the field, and the one who experiences it is the knower of the field. The field is the physical body, constantly changing from childhood to youth to old age, from health to sickness, from strength to weakness, until finally dissolving into dust. But the knower, the soul, is eternal, unchanging, untouched, and divine. The body is born, but the soul never begins. The body dies, but the soul never ends. We decorate the body, protect it, worship it, and cry when it changes, but we rarely ask, "Who am I?" Krishna explains that we suffer because we identify with the temporary instead of the eternal. We say, "I am beautiful, I am ugly, I am rich, I am poor, I am successful, I am a failure." But these are identities of the body and the mind, not of the soul. The soul is pure consciousness, beyond titles, beyond labels, beyond comparison. Krishna shows that the world is made of two energies, matter and spirit. Matter includes the body, senses, thoughts, and ego, always unstable, always dependent. Spirit is the divine spark, the true self, stable, peaceful, infinite. The soul is the observer, watching thoughts and emotions like clouds passing through the sky. The purpose of life is to realize this truth,
because self-knowledge is liberation. When one sees the same divine presence in all beings, there is no hatred, no arrogance, no jealousy, no pride. Every heart becomes sacred. Every life becomes valuable. Krishna describes the qualities of a wise person: humility, nonviolence, self-control, forgiveness, purity, simplicity, devotion, truth, discipline, and compassion. True knowledge is not memorizing scriptures. It is transforming character. When the ego disappears, truth shines. When the soul wakes up, suffering ends. This chapter teaches the most powerful lesson. Freedom begins the moment you realize you are not the body, you are the eternal soul.
Krishna now reveals the forces that control human behavior and determine the quality of life. Everything in the world, including our thoughts, desires, habits, and actions, is influenced by three gunas, the three modes of nature. Sattva represents purity, clarity, wisdom, peace, harmony, compassion, balance, and truth. When sattva dominates, the mind becomes calm, decisions become wise, and life feels meaningful and bright. Sattva elevates the soul upward. Rajas represents desire, ambition, restlessness, competition, attachment, greed, and constant activity. It brings movement and progress, but also stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. A Rajasic person is always chasing something: money, fame, approval, pleasure, achievement, and is never fulfilled. Tamas represents darkness, laziness, ignorance, confusion, anger, fear, carelessness, addiction, and destruction. It drags the soul downward. A tamasic person avoids responsibility, blames others, wastes time, and destroys peace and potential. Krishna teaches that every person contains all three, but one dominates at a time. We rise in life by increasing sattva, moving from darkness to passion, and from passion to purity. And ultimately, we transcend even sattva to reach liberation. Krishna explains how these gunas show up in food, speech, discipline, faith, charity, habits, and choices. Sattvic food is pure and energizing. Rajasic food is heavy and overstimulating. Tamasic food is stale and harmful. Sattvic speech heals. Rajasic speech manipulates. Tamasic speech hurts. The one who rises above the gunas becomes unshakable, fearless, free from comparison, steady in gain and loss, calm in pleasure and pain. He becomes a witness, not a slave of the mind. This chapter teaches that inner evolution is the real victory, and transformation begins with awareness and discipline. Change your habits, and your destiny will change.
Krishna now reveals a symbolic vision of existence, an upside-down tree whose roots are in the spiritual world and whose branches grow downward into material existence. The roots represent God, the eternal source, and the branches represent desires, attachments, relationships, ambitions, pleasures, and struggles that pull the soul deeper into illusion. Just as the branches of a tree spread endlessly, human desires grow without end, keeping the soul trapped in the cycle of birth and death. Krishna says that the only way to escape this tangled tree is to cut it with the sword of detachment. Detachment not from life, but from the illusion that anything temporary can bring lasting happiness. He reveals the true identity of the soul, eternal, indestructible, divine. Forgetting this truth, the soul falls into illusion. Remembering it, the soul becomes free. Krishna then reveals his highest identity as Purushottama, the supreme person, beyond the perishable material world and beyond the imperishable individual soul. He is the source of light, life, intelligence, and consciousness.
Everything that exists rests in Him, depends on Him, and returns to Him. The wise seek refuge in Him with love, surrender, and devotion. They understand that God is not somewhere far. He is the breath inside life, the consciousness inside awareness, the witness of every experience. This chapter teaches the ultimate lesson. Return to the root, not the branches. Hold on to the eternal, not the temporary. Seek God, not illusion. When the soul surrenders to the divine, liberation becomes natural, effortless, and inevitable.
Krishna now reveals the qualities that shape destiny and the inner forces that decide whether a person rises toward light or falls into darkness. He explains that every human carries two natures within, the divine and the demonic. Divine qualities include fearlessness, purity of heart, compassion, truthfulness, discipline, self-control, forgiveness, humility, non-violence, patience, and faith. People with divine qualities live with purpose, serve without expectation, speak with kindness, and act with integrity. They lift others up rather than pulling them down. They are calm in challenges, steady in storms, unshaken by pain, and guided by wisdom rather than impulse. Their strength is silent but unbreakable. Their heart remains pure even when the world becomes cruel. Demonic qualities include arrogance, greed, anger, jealousy, selfishness, cruelty, hypocrisy, dishonesty, hatred, and lack of discipline. People dominated by these qualities believe that pleasure is everything, desire is the only purpose, and power is the only truth. They harm others for personal gain. They exploit, manipulate, and destroy peace around them. They live in fear, blinded by ego, burning in anxiety and dissatisfaction, never feeling fulfilled no matter how much they achieve. Krishna warns that people controlled by desire and anger ultimately destroy themselves. They drown in their own darkness because they choose ego over compassion and greed over conscience. He teaches that the real battlefield is not outside, it is inside the human heart. Every thought is a choice between light and darkness, between divine and demonic forces. The one who chooses humility over pride, kindness over cruelty, discipline over laziness, forgiveness over revenge, and love over fear becomes truly divine. Divinity is not inherited, it is built through decisions. This chapter reminds us that character is destiny and that true victory begins inside the soul. To be divine is not to be perfect, it is to constantly fight for goodness even when darkness tempts.
Arjuna then asks a powerful question. What about those who worship with faith, but without understanding Scripture? What decides the quality of their faith? Krishna reveals that faith itself is shaped by the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. A person's faith becomes the mirror of their nature. Sattvic faith is pure, peaceful, compassionate, truthful, balanced, and devoted to righteousness. People with sattvic faith seek truth, serve others, speak gently, eat clean food, practice discipline, and live with gratitude. Their faith lifts them upward. Rajasic faith is driven by ambition, desire, ego, pride, reward, and attachment. People with Rajasic faith worship success, fame, recognition, and external validation. They work hard but remain restless, always chasing something new, never satisfied. They give charity only when praised, love only when appreciated, and act only when rewarded. Their faith ties them to anxiety. Tamasic faith is dark, careless, harmful, and destructive. People with tamasic nature indulge in intoxication, violence, laziness, negativity, ignorance, and cruelty. Their faith leads them into suffering and confusion because they cannot recognize truth. Krishna explains that even sacrifice, speech, charity, food, and discipline manifest these three gunas. Sattvic charity is given with love to the deserving, expecting nothing in return. Rajasic charity is transactional, expecting praise or benefits. Tamasic charity is insulting, careless, or given for the wrong reasons. Krishna teaches that purity of intention matters more than action itself. Faith without understanding can be dangerous if rooted in ego or darkness. Therefore, every individual must transform faith through awareness, self-reflection, discipline, and devotion. Real faith is not shouting prayers, it is living with integrity. Real spirituality is not ritual, it is responsibility. Real religion is not fear, it is love. This chapter teaches, beliefs shape destiny. Purify beliefs, and life transforms.
The Gita now reaches its majestic conclusion. Krishna summarizes every path: knowledge, action, meditation, discipline, devotion, and reveals the highest teaching. Freedom comes from surrender to God. He explains that each soul must follow its own Dharma, its unique duty, without fear or comparison. Escape from duty is weakness. Facing duty with courage is greatness. Every action becomes sacred when done without ego, without selfish attachment, and without expectation. Krishna declares the ultimate truth. Give up all forms of temporary support and surrender completely to me. I will release you from all sins. Do not fear. These words are the heart of the Gita, the voice that dissolves darkness. Surrender does not mean giving up life. It means giving up the illusion of control. When a person aligns with divine will, fear disappears, confusion dissolves, and the universe supports them. Krishna reveals that God lives in the heart of every being, turning the wheel of destiny silently from within. The wise surrender, not out of weakness, but out of enlightenment. Arjuna, once broken and paralyzed by emotion, now rises reborn. His tears transform into determination. His confusion transform into clarity. His fear transform into courage. His despair transform into purpose. He says with strength, "My doubts are gone. My mind is steady. I will act according to your guidance." Victory begins not on the battlefield outside, but in the battlefield of the mind. The Gita ends with power, the triumph of truth over confusion, courage over fear, duty over weakness, and surrender over ego. It teaches that the real spiritual warrior conquers the self and walks with God.
If the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita touched your heart today, don't let it remain just knowledge. Apply it, live it, become it. Wisdom without action is like a sword without a warrior, powerful but unused. Today, make a decision that will change your life. Choose one lesson from the Gita and practice it daily. If fear controls you, face it. If anger burns you, master it. If doubt weakens you, replace it with trust. If attachment holds you back, practice letting go. If selfishness limits you, serve someone without expecting anything. If anxiety consumes you, meditate and breathe. If ego blinds you, practice humility. Remember, the battle of life is not outside, it is inside. Win that battle, and nothing in the world can defeat you. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not powerless. You are an eternal soul, guided by divine strength, born for greatness. Life will challenge you. Pain will come. Storms will rise. People will doubt you. Situations will test you. But if you walk with faith and discipline, your victory is inevitable. Do not wait for the perfect time. Start now. Every small step becomes a giant transformation. Share this wisdom. Help someone who is struggling. Shine light where there is darkness. Be the warrior the world needs. And if this message inspired you, Support this journey by liking, sharing, and subscribing to Divine Gita Secrets, where we transform timeless wisdom into living power. Rise today, decide today, act today. The world is waiting for the strongest version of you. The Bhagavad Gita is not just a scripture, it is the eternal voice of the soul. It is the mirror that reveals who we really are, the hand that lifts us when we fall, the light that guides us through darkness, and the sword that cuts fear and confusion. It teaches that we are warriors, not victims, creators, not followers, eternal souls, not temporary bodies. Life is a battlefield, but God walks beside the brave. The Gita ends with a message that echoes through eternity. Stand up, fight, become who you were born to be. Thank you for being a part of Divine Gita Secrets. May this wisdom transform your life. May courage fill your heart. May peace guide your journey. May love become your strength. And may the divine within awaken fully. Until we meet again, remember always, real peace begins within.